What is up, team? Killchain here, and today is the pilot episode of Out of Range, a new World of Warcraft podcast through the lens of a melee character. Now, if you've seen anything else on the channel, obviously you know I predominantly main warrior. However, I typically love and enjoy and typically pick up all melee specs very easily, as it's just sort of the niche. It's what I've been playing literally for 20 years at this point, basically. And so, yeah, do very well at melee. Tried caster DPS and things like that previously to no avail. I think even, Liquid's maximum, right? Max had said that it's very rare that you'll ever see anyone. In fact, he can't name a single person that does obviously exceptionally well at both melee and ranged DPS, or caster DPS specifically. And I tried my mage and definitely was lacking in a lot of areas. Just couldn't pick it up. I got melee brain basically. And so that's what this channel will typically be about. Now, I've already penned down probably the first 5 or 6 episodes of different topics I want to touch on. The production quality and everything like that will naturally get better over time. If anyone happens to know graphics artists, they would recommend, so we can get some overlays and pretty little pictures and everything to make it a bit more spruced up. And eventually we'll have, guests and stuff on that. That'll be very cool as well. Today's topic specifically, I want to talk about how to improve Mythic Plus. Now, this is just definitely coming from not a top end player. Background context, I did not touch Mythic Plus at all until kind of late BFA, and even then I was just sort of doing it because you got the cool weekly chest reward, right? And so, cool, that's fine. You did your dungeon and be happy with that. I typically always play raid. While I would say I'm a hardcore player in terms of time investment, I would say I'm generally pretty average. I do quite well at my average content, but I wasn't a Mythic raider or anything like that. Dip in and out of Mythic raiding quite typically, and I'm currently in one of those. I want more out of the game. We've got into a Mythic raid guild. We're doing our program and everything like that, and hopefully that'll be a stepping stone, and that I'll actually stick with this time. As kids have finally grown up and they're in school now, so it's starting to get to that point where I don't. You get a little bit more free time, things are starting to fall into place, and so that's really exciting as well. Part and parcel of that as well has naturally been the progression on the Mythic Plus side of things. So even in Shadowlands, barely touched it. Started the Dragonflight is when I really started to kind of invest more time into it and everything like that. And with that, I got my first portal, and then the next season I got all the portals, and I was feeling pretty good. And then, 2,800 turns into, man, I really wish I could hit 3K one day. And then sure enough, this season, you hit 3-1. I'm 3-1 at the moment. And there's easily more wiggle room that I could do in terms of I already know I'm at that level. I just need to get the keystones rolling and everything like that. So those will be probably across the board 3-2, maybe 3-3 in terms of where I expect to hit at the end of the season. But naturally with that comes challenges. You're a warrior, you don't have legendary, you suddenly do get it, you start, popping off, learning a bit more, but your class tends to play quite a large role in that, and even more noticeably when MDI finally finishes, so it's about to have a nice weekend of it, I believe, coming up this weekend, and that's another thing that's very annoying, right, is Mythic Plus, you really notice how much people meta slave. The moment an MDI comes out, if there is a spec that no one suspected that ends up doing very well, you will see hundreds of them everywhere. And if it's what we all sort of expected it to be, then you're gonna see your, Giga friggin' Group 2.0 from last season. I mean, it won't be to that extreme, but I can already see Warlock and Shadow Priest being quite prevalent, probably with the Fire Mage in that there as well. And Fire Mage and Shadow Priest and Warlock, a combination of those three, and maybe the third DPS being a bit more malleable. But we're going to have to see what happens. But naturally, whenever you see the big boys doing a particular thing, then it trickle-down effect. You tend to start even noticing, plus 10s start getting rowdy because they expect a friggin' Evoker or something to be in there because they need Org. And naturally, you start... I barely see Orgs in groups anymore. And it's only been since people on the streams have started talking about, you probably don't need Org that much. Yeah, you want the more DPS side of things now, blah, blah, blah. And sure enough, Orgs aren't in every single group I run anymore. In fact, Orgs are sort of not that common. I've run vastly more keys from 20s to 24s, 25s. I think I've attempted 126 so far. I think I've seen one org in the last like 4 weeks. It's actually generally insane how much sway the public opinion has from streamers and whatnot. So that in and of itself is a whole nother category. But the big thing that I've really found that I'm struggling with, and I hope other people sort of share in this, is it is very frustrating that you're completely incapable of truly like committing time to learning a dungeon. So if you obviously brick a key, you can run it out, drop it, and you try your 10 or 26, try 25, try 24, and you're repeating the same dungeon. So you've got that kind of longevity in terms of really nailing down each particular pull, how you want it to pull, your communication with your tank, if you're doing it as a pugs or just for yourself, or in a little guild group or whatever the case may be. But my big pitch, and it's something that I really think could dramatically improve the game, and I don't want to touch affixes yet, we'll talk about that a little later, but I think one of the best things they could do is when you do finally hit all your 20 portals, I'm sure there could be an achievement added where, you've got all portals for season 3, you're the mythic portal master or some shit, whatever the achievement they want to add, just to give some tangible way of tracking when you get this new thing. I think this new thing should be that when you hit all 20 portals, you get an Omni Keystone instead of a regular Keystone, and that allows you to shove your Omni Keystone into your into the Mythic Keystone holder thing when you start the dungeon, and select any key level you want. This Omni Keystone will also work in any dungeon you want. So from an envision standpoint, sure, you're going to have your likes of your echoes that will literally already have 20 portals in every single dungeon within the first week or 2 of the new season. Okay, that's fine. By them being able to then push for higher keystones and really min-max of which ones they want to push for. The only downside I see of that is that they could use that to then farm plus 20 versions of a particular dungeon that might drop an OP trinket or something. If you're doing that in sort of your first week or 2 during the race to world first, how would that impact it? They're kind of already doing that anyway, right? They literally have hordes of people that would be like looking out for the mythic dungeon that they need, and they're looking through the giant list, that one, or posting up a thing. Liquid Guild needs Throne of the Tides 20, and then their fan base is going to feed them whatever dungeon keys they want, right? So I hate to say it, but there's already workarounds for what this will allow slightly easier. It's also a little bit irrelevant, sorry, but you shouldn't be doing too much in terms of breaking the game or, restricting things just because the 0.1% blah, 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 race to world first, usual complaints that you see everywhere on the internet, right? So if you allowed that to happen, then that will give way more agency over to what I would sort of call the regular Mythic Plus enthusiasts, right? That really get into it, want to push higher. Because the moment you hit that brick wall, I can't turn around with my friends and go, I know that we can do this 25 fall, for example. Super easy timer, we're living good, we just need to fuck up this one particular part, or whatever the case may be. A healer struggled on Galakron, whatever it is. You could then say, okay, guys, raiding is now dying down. On Wednesday night, the raid night, we're going to do a Galakron fall. I've got my boys, we're going to go in there. And tonight is Galakron fall night, okay? And then we just do that for 2 hours. And you're able to go, all right, we've done a 25. Let me set it to 26. Oh, we keep failing the 26. Oh my God, we failed it again. No, I reckon we can do this. Let's push, rah, rah, rah. You just keep slamming a 26 Galakron fall. Now, again, I'm very much a fan of playing devil's advocate. Towards the end of the season, when most people already do have their portals and most people already have their Omni Keystones, it is going to eventually sort of collapse into people will post their own keys of what they need personally for IO or what they consider as the easiest dungeons, right? So much like, I think it was season 1, Shadow Moon Burial Ground, obviously super easy 20. Most people would like to do that on repeat, right? So given the current climate, let's just assume people just want to smash the ever-living shit out of Atal Desires constantly. and that's the one that they find the easiest. So cool, let's do that one. Now, most of the keys for the people, they would be using their Omni Keystone because they don't care about pushing at the moment. They just want to get their vault filled. Sure, they're going to see an influx of all the Ital Desires because everyone has access to the easiest key once they've all got it. And then you're sort of going from there. Now, is that necessarily bad? I mean, maybe, because if you're trying to push IO without having all the portals, then you're sort of at the whim of what everyone else is choosing to run their key zone. But you still have the opportunity of doing your own key until you get such portals that you've unlocked this new Omni Keystone. I'm just giving it a name. So with that in mind, when you do have the Omni Keystone, then you can actually do the dungeon whatever you need. I can look at my list and go, all right, my lowest is a Wakeress Manor. I've only got a plus 22 on both weeks or whatever, right? So no, I don't need to worry about fishing for a key and sit there doing all these irrelevant dungeons that don't do anything for me. Thus, you could be 4 keys deep, you keep re-rolling yours and it's changing to keys that you just don't need. And then you've done your 4 dungeons for the day and, real life people, family comes home or you've got something come up and you go, all right, well, I've just done my 4 keystones. None of them were the keys that I actually needed for IO. So I feel like I've just sort of wasted my own time investing in my own keystone, right? That typically happened a lot, and I'm sure there's bound to be other people that also experience this, right? And then there's the element of just naturally trying to get better. I find it difficult, and again, I'm sure I'm not the only person in this boat, that, if you're swapping from key to key to key, I really can't nail down like a certain stretch or even just a dungeon as a whole. If I really want to nail down this one particular part of Dark Heart Thicket that's causing me problems, and I'm like, I always get caught by this one thing, and this was a bad keystone for me. I really want to invest some time and just go, cool, this Thursday, my group's all getting together. We're just going to make it a Dark Heart Thicket night, and we're going to smash the shit out of it over and over and over again, because I really, really reckon we can actually time this 25 fine. And not being punished for that and being able to just go back. You've unlocked this magical Omni Keystone, so now you can just set it to whatever you want. Yeah, go in, smash it out, do whatever you need to do. And you can, really fine tune and go, we did our first 7 pulls up to this, tree boss really, really well, but we screwed up the tree boss. Cool, let's go again. We know we can do it. We just need to do the tree boss better. Fine. You do all your pulls as per normal. You get up to the tree boss. All right, this time let's not fuck up the XYZ, whatever it happened to be. And then you get through it and you either time it or you're not. Because you're gated behind this magical, enthusiastic number of the timer, the fact that exists, I don't see that being any particular issue at all. Now, again, to play devil's advocate, I'm guessing when it comes to IO and things like that, if someone could just wait for... If you could select any eye level that you want, the timer could exist, but obviously you don't need to worry about it because if you're a little bit over, you'd still technically get IO, but at a certain point, it stops giving you IO. So sure, let's say the big boys Echo want to turn around and they're just going to say, you know what, fuck it, we're going to put a plus 40 key in. And it doesn't matter how long we take, because if we just complete the plus 40 key, it could take us 2 hours. We complete the plus 40, it's fine. We managed to somehow pull it off using lust on every single pull and every single boss encounter, whatever the case may be. But we managed to get it down, and we're using all our cooldowns all the time forever, and it's just ridiculous. But we managed to somehow pull off this plus 40. It would take them so long that they're ineligible for IO anyway. So it's not like there's going to be that gaming system there. You do have, the timer that has such a vast impact on how that's going to work. So I don't see too much of an issue in terms of those kind of pitfalls that, this kind of a system would have. Yet the benefit of being able to really nail down dungeons, fish for the stuff you need, both from a sense of if you still haven't got a trinket very late into the season, I'm sort of projecting a little bit here, sure. But it took me ages to get Might of the Ocean. Just wasn't dropping. I have not seen Might of the Ocean drop bar once. I didn't even get it. It was another pally that happened to get the drop, and he was nice enough to give it to me. And this was 9 weeks into the season, right? So And I did a fair number of Throne of the Tides. So given that, I still don't have it from... don't even get me started on the Vault. I could whinge and bitch about my Vault all season. But we'll ignore that for now. Another video maybe in terms of how the Vault's going to go. But yeah, from a Mythic Plus perspective, I really do believe that this is a system change, a system tweak, that would be vastly, vastly better than anything else you could imagine in terms of what we currently have and how Mythic Plus can just sort of keep moving forward to give people and players the tools to actually get the most out of their Mythic Plus. And I think the biggest issue that I'm having, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, is just that idea of Keystone and really needing specific stuff. I know multiple people that have just stopped playing the game because they find it difficult, both from a grouping perspective, they're not being invited, blah, 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 as well as a fishing for keys perspective where they're like, oh, I need a thing. All right, well, this is the one keystone that I really need at this level. Well, I only have it at one level below that. And they're like, no, thanks, don't worry about it. Because what's the point of wasting 45 minutes for literally zero gain? And I can't change it, right? Like I have a 23 Dark Heart, a mate needs a 24 or above. He doesn't, at first they do, of course they do. They were like, yeah, cool, we'll push your key up. But then eventually, if you've done like 3 or 4 dungeons and they've all just been pushing keys up and you're trying to fish and wait for the right one to fall along, that fills the right gap, then yeah, it's a lot of busy work just to try and get your first chance at a particular keystone. And then if it doesn't go well because you're not used to it yet, maybe you're all a bunch of shitters, okay? Then you're straight back to the beginning again, and you sort of have to work on one of the keys being built up to get to eventually to be the right key at the right keystone level before you get IO again, right? And you've done all these other dungeons, so you haven't been able to practice that same dungeon that keeps causing you problems. It's just, yeah, it's very convoluted, and I really, really, truly believe that some sort of like an Omni key system, if you don't want to do it from the get-go, like I sort of actually understand and respect that. I don't want, season launches on reset tonight. Yay, new season, everyone's pumped, everyone's online. As soon as the servers are back up, you just immediately run in and you get to pick what fucking dungeon you want. No, from the get-go, I respect and understand that you probably don't want people being able to do that because it's going to lead to degenerate gameplay where everyone's like, all right, well, until I get this trinket, I'm going to farm that dungeon and only that dungeon. And until I get, all right, I've got my trinket now. Yay. You need your caster trinket, and that comes from this other dungeon. Cool. Now that you've done it for me on that dungeon, now we're going to farm the shit out of this other one. It's going to lead to very, really awkward kind of stuff. And even when it comes to alts or even mains for that record. If you're just trying to farm the shit out of whatever it is you're trying to farm, you would naturally gravitate to the easier dungeon. You want to do a whole plethora of all your alts during that first week of a new season. Sure, you're going to see 8 times a Tal Dazar's run on multiple characters just to hit the vault slots that they need. And then, they'll go from there. So I definitely understand and respect that it's probably not a good idea for the entirety of Mythic Plus to have this Omni Key sort of mentality. But I really, really do believe that it has its place when it comes to top end sort of IO pushing. And I think the best gate for that is 20 portals on all dungeons and throw in an achievement. Like I said, lock it behind that. Yay. New achievement, season 3 portal master, unlocked all the portals of all the dungeons. Tick, 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 tick. Reward new Omni Keystone or something. And that allows you to go to any dungeon and put in any number. And that's just yours to have. And then out of the vault, you might still get a regular keystone if you still want that side of things where you're pushing up in that capacity. But you've also got this other item that's an Omni Keystone. Or you could just turn it into an Omni Keystone. I don't know how they want to, do it in terms of item ID. But I think you could just be given this magical new item that's called an Omni Keystone. And so you can fuck off your regular Mythic Keystone and just keep this Omni one. And go to any dungeon, set it to any level, pub your uncle. Now, anything else that I can think of? I really don't think there's much downside to this. It could be a bit of a technical challenge. I don't think it will be in terms of creating an item that's allowed to be put into a Mythic Keystone thing. And surely from a level of, what level you're going to start at that, you just add a little scroll wheel thing or a click up or click down, that kind of stuff. throw in a confirmation of you're about to start a 27 rise. Are you sure? Yes, cool, done. And it allows people to not game the system too hard in terms of farming stuff. It allows people to properly test, and like it's going to be a really good live environment where you're going to see probably more Mythic Plus teams be able to actually practice and get better, right? Better competition for MDRs, things like that, because you have almost like this tournament role style at the top end where you can fish for what particular keystones and keep practicing, go over and over and over again. So it has that tournament style element at the top end, at the higher levels, and then how you expect it to function at the lower levels, especially when a new season starts and all that stuff. And like I said, the one thing I could see being slightly annoying or potentially gamey is that the big boys, your Echoes, your Liquids, that kind of stuff that hit 20 portals as soon as they possibly can in the first week, I don't think they're gonna care if that allows them to pick any particular dungeon and set it to any particular level, and all of a sudden they're capable of specifically farming like a plus 17 because you need it to be on the right track, like a hero versus myth track or whatever the case is. Like they want to try and hit all the hero track stuff, and if that starts dropping at, again, I'm just pretending, I think it's plus 17 or plus 18, right? If they find the optimum thing is to farm Throne of the Tides for Might of the Ocean for all their physical melee strength users, and they've got, you know, a warrior in every group, a Ret Pally or whatever the case is, and they're just farming 17 Throne of the Tides over and over and over and over and over again because they've gamed the system with this new 20 plus portal thing everywhere. Yeah, that'll be bad too. I don't even know if it's possible, but probably is because they're freaks of nature that are very, very good at the game. Even if that was the case though, again, I really stand by it. They're already sort of doing that and fishing for it as much as they can anyway. I distinctly remember seeing many of the Liquid guilds seeking this key, want to buy key things in the pre-made group selection, right? So, yeah, I really think... I think that will do leaps and bounds when it comes to improving Mythic Plus and providing much more longevity to the season, instead of just sort of falling flat. Like we're about to have MDR now, and maybe other guilds are really still finding Mythic Plus good. I'm still finding Mythic Plus very enticing, but you do tend to notice it's sort of dwindling a little bit now. And I'm sure there's still at least, you know, another 6 to 8 weeks of the season left. Before season 4 will really start becoming online or mentioned, or, you know, have an actual release date or anything. Might be sooner, who knows? But yeah, I definitely think that could go a long way. Now, when it comes to affixes is another section that we would have to touch on. I don't think they're in a bad spot. I don't think there's any major game-changing ones. Obviously, some weeks people are just like, fuck this, I'm not playing this week. But they're definitely significantly better than they were. However, I'm also, the more and more I think about it, the more and more I think that my own opinion has slightly changed, because I was very much in a camp of, why can't we just have one season? Like season 4 coming up, it's a bit of a throwaway season anyway, because there's no new raid, etc. So end of the expansion, hurrah, do something crazy, whatever the case is. I hope they do. But part and parcel of that is the discussion that most people seem to at least bring up in some capacity. And that is no affixes at all. Why not just get rid of Fort, get rid of Tyrannical, just let the dungeons be dungeons, see how hard they push, etc. The unfortunate part of that, and it might actually work really well in these like hyper condensed play around seasons, like a season 4 from Shadowlands and Dragonflight, it might actually work really well in that shortened period of time. But I do think if you get rid of all the affixes, people are going to get much more bored, much quicker in that particular season, whatever season you happen to do it in. And the reason being is because nothing would change from week to week. As much as we want that, I do feel like that's a little bit of that, you know, borrowed power that we all hate so much. But man, I wish there was this one thing I could log in every day for to get that small, tiny little increment, like, there's that itch to kind of have a reason to do the thing. And we, as much as we had to say it, even if they just got rid of maybe all the normal affixes and just kept Fort and Tyrannical, cool, give that a whirl. But I do think the affixes aren't as impactful of changing in terms of bettering Mythic Plus as an endgame pillar of content than it would be to just literally give us more access to more tournament style realm Mythic Plus experience by creating these weird Omni tokens that I've discussed. So I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. If you're picking up what I'm putting down at all, let me know in the comments. If you fucking hate it, let me know in the comments as well. I'll be curious. This has been fun. I dribble way too much shit about WoW, and it's been some shower thoughts. So yeah, thanks very much. Episode 1 down. Like I said, I've got penned down like 4 or 5, probably more like 5, 6, 7, somewhere in that range. Different ideas for it. There will be more. And yeah, I'm hoping that we can eventually get some nice graphics laid out for an overlay, and maybe get even a guest on, and just someone else that I can dribble a lot of WoW with and come up with different ideas. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.